The Fnaf franchise is filled with many animatronics, some good, some bad, and today I'll be ranking them. There's a lot of stuff to go through before I start, because there is a lot of animatronics. This is only animatronics, not characters, so don't get mad at me if I don't mention Arnold from Secret of the Mimic, the main character you never see, never really hear about, or even hear his last name. This means that FNAF World doesn't count, because they're not animatronics. VR counts as they are haunted NPCs who do Glitch Trap and have their own gameplay, and Glitch Trap is technically Springtrap, or the Mimic, that's completely unknown. If it is a skin, it only counts it as different gameplay. Anyways, without all further ado, time to rank. At number 150 for my least favorite animatronic is Phantom Chica. Now this may seem surprising. This is better than random nothing book characters like Hank the Hammer or Ned Bear. Well, they serve their purpose. Phantom Chica not only has a terrible design, being a basic recolor with an arm gun, but she also hardly appears. When I 100%ed in FNAF 3, I did not see this animatronic once. I saw the camera with the arcade thing, but it hit 6 AM before I could get the jump scare. She's on Camp 7 where you'll almost never check. Also, Phantoms suck, and this jump scare is underwhelming. While I find the next one way more annoying, I think that Phantom Chica is worse just because she is used a lot less. You don't even notice her most of the time, and her design is worse. At number 149 is Plush Babies. I was able to beat every level in FNAF VR, at least the mobile port, except the darkroom level, due to the annoying as hell Plush Babies. They can be anywhere in the dark, and you have a limited battery flashlight. They are also the main part of the Circus Baby's Closet Nightmare section, which makes it so it's so much more boring. At least if they were gone, then they could have thought of a more interesting mechanic to get you to open the door, like an oxygen meter. They also don't make sense in concept. I get it's digital, but like, what are these? These are plush babies. Why are they haunted and evil? They basically are Biddy Babs too, except for infinitely more annoying. You know the Night 4 section of FNAF 5? This is what it feels like, except for it's 2D, you don't have to look around in the At number 148 is Rockstar Chica. Rockstar Chica is really weird. What do maracas have to do with being a rockstar? Is it because they're rocking? She has no creep factor like any of the other Chicas. She doesn't look like she's seconds away from killing you. She only counts to FNAF UCN, where she appears in either hallway, and you have to put a wet floor sign. How sad is it that an animatronic can be stopped by a small sign? Next up at 147 is Happy Frog. Happy Frog is a little bit better of a character. While she doesn't look very threatening, is essentially only used for decoration in FNAF 6, and her voice is more annoying. But how she works in FNAF UCN is pretty cool. She works like other mediocre melodies of heading down your air ducts, but is immune to the heater. Your only choice is to switch the duct shut or use audio. And with all 5 coming, that can be very overwhelming. Still not very good in general, though, but a better character. At number 146, for the character you probably don't know exists, is Party Freddy. The hard mode of Freddy in FNAF VR. His design's cool, but gameplay-wise of him is really simple. You know how the Glitch Trap minigame is kind of a maze with a bunch of characters that will jump scare you if you go in the wrong room or take too long? They're just combined with their original versions, they have no designs. Essentially like Shadow Freddy, but way less cool and doesn't crash your game. And at number 145 is Ned Bear. You ever thought Freddy Fazbear was too threatening? Well, here's the silly version. His design isn't too bad, and in the UCN air duct section, he's the basic one. He's basic and kind of boring, but not a bad character per se. I guess he's fun overall. At number 144 is Funtime Chica. Funtime Chica is essentially a made-up character like Sparky the dog, but was an addition to the lore due to Chica's Beats World being mentioned. For some reason, she was in FNAF 6, therefore UCN. And in UCN, she is the most nothing character out of the entire game. I genuinely don't know how she can be a problem. She just distracts you by appearing on your screen for a millisecond and saying a line, and cameras flashing. Even when first used in a custom night, she is nothing interesting. She was also in FNAF 6, but I did not notice. Why? Why is she in the roster? Trash and the gang are the exact same. I mean, they're better characters generally because they're funnier, Funtime Chica just sucks in general. Next up is Rockstar Freddy. I can't believe I forgot the greatest Rockstar Freddy. The most annoying character in UCN. At least when under pressure, the others know how to shut up. He looks cool, I guess, but that's not good or saying anything. He works in FNAF 6, not really in FNAF UCN. His voice actor did a kind of good job, though, I guess. I don't know. At number 142 is Fazgoo. It's really funny that this exists. FNAF went from ghost to haunted slime in less than a decade. The Fazgoo steals pee out of its host's bladder and becomes them while they become goo on the floor. And for some reason comes back in another story. I get the books are insane, like the Minarine is exploding out of a guy or an evil robot shark, but this is so goofy on another level. This is his only actual drawing of him, or picture of him, and it's a Roblox render. Still kind of interesting, though, story-wise, I guess. It's just Monster Blood from Goosebumps, but infinitely goofier. At number 139 is Vanny, the most underutilized character in all of FNAF. Her teaser in VR was interesting, and the Scared to Be trailers and posters show she is the main villain. And, sure. She only appears for 3 minutes and essentially just walks toward you slowly and messes up the screen if you're too close, but that makes a villain. And the twist that she is also Vanessa has to be the joke. It's almost like the only other human woman in the game is the murderer with the same voice. It's insane that she doesn't even have a boss fight. Even in the Vanny ending, she is a creepy threat for her 3 minutes of screen time. At number 140 is Caution Bots. Unlike every other Easter egg, the Caution Bots aren't Easter eggs. Instead, they just look at you. Their design is, I guess, cute. I mean, they have the Freddy head, and they got, like, big yellow eyes. But I don't think that counts as a good animatronic. It's a nothing one, but that's about it. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just there. I guess it adds to the world of the Pizzaplex. At number 138 is Burn Trap. Unlike Vanny, Burn Trap isn't a terrible character. He just shouldn't have existed. All he does is that he's the final boss, technically secret final boss, and lore-wise is the evil in all the animatronics, I think. The lore is really complicated now. Why is the hardest part of this final boss being stopping corrupted Roxy when you don't know how to stop her at first? Why even bring this character back just to kill him off 5 minutes later? He looks really cool, I guess, and I'm glad he has an actual corp design, not just a poor imitation of a human. Someone mentioned he should be called Scorchtrap. Well, it's a cooler name. It's way harder to pronounce since it's like 3 syllables. I don't like this guy at all, but he looks cool, I guess. At number 137 is Corrupted Statbots. Aside from DJ Music Man, these were the coolest part of the trailer. Too bad all they do is beat enemies in a sewer section and you get the trailer jump scare if you fall in a pit. The best I can say is that they made the dismantled Chica section more interesting. The staff bots kill you no matter what, but that's like every enemy. Have Steel ever heard of Goombas? They work pretty similar. I heard their name is Corrupted Nightmare Staff Bots from Safari, no? In conclusion, they kinda suck, but look cool. At number 136 is the Springlock suit, specifically from FNAF 5 Night 4, the background, if you didn't notice. It doesn't really work like a Springlock suit. I mean, it's almost unnoticeable too, but that doesn't matter too much, I guess. Instead of controlling your heart rate by stopping mini-arenas, it just works like 10 music boxes at once, or a mini-arena jump scare. It's only this high due to speculation of who the suit is, I guess. Up next at 135 is Phantom Balloon Boy. Phantom Balloon Boy appears in random cams. You have to flip off in a split second, or he'll jump scare you and mess with your stuff. This is really annoying and gets old after the first time he attacks you. His only good part is that he has a mechanic and is a balloon boy that can scare you. Still not good though. I guess versatile, unlike Phantom Chica. At number 134 is JJ. JJ is probably the funniest character out of FNAF 2. Unlike Endo 2, she isn't a retread of a kinda cool secret. It's hard to rank a character that does nothing, but unlike some, like the sub-mechanophobia characters, she is hardly there. You can't even notice her for the most part in FNAF 2. She appears in the UCN, and all you have to do is notice her before putting up your cameras, or she'll hide and disable your doors. Cool mechanic, I guess. In the, teaser of Fnaf 2, she's kinda cool that you can't notice her easily. I don't know if I would call her a teaser, an Easter egg more so. At number 163 is Nightmare Endo. Nightmare Endo, similar to the other endoskeletons, appears as an Easter egg. However, instead of appearing in a random camera, he appears in the extras as Nightmare Fredbear's Endo. Well, that is funny. This character is nothing really. I guess he's kind of cool looking. At number 132 is Mini Renas 2. Scott had to add 10 characters to Fnaf 5 Customized and didn't want to add Baby. So instead, other Mini Renas that look the same will annoy you by appearing whenever you shut off your cameras. Or they'll accumulate over time, but generally only 3 phases. I've heard that Fnaf 5 Customized is really difficult. These things aren't the main reason, but they might as well be. I never played the Fnaf 5 Custom Night, but if I had to guess, this is an extremely annoying character. Not the most annoying, I feel like those plush babies are way more annoying, but nonetheless an extremely annoying character. Next up at number 131 is Phantom Mangle. This was originally higher than the next two, but I don't know why. The Mangle is not only annoying, but unlike the Phantom Puppet, doesn't distract you. I like the Mangle's design more, I guess, but that's about it. And next up, if you couldn't guess, is number 130, Phantom Puppet. The Phantom Puppet is just really annoying. Look at the main hallway cam, which you'll probably look at since they're watching Springtrap is important. Other randoms jump scare you, but Phantom Puppet just stares at you, making a beeping noise. It's also a simple reskin except for wet eyes, which is kinda cool, I guess. Not the worst character, but I wouldn't say good. At number 129 is Gregory, the main character of Security Breach, meaning you hear this stupid dude's voice lines all throughout the game. Glamrock Freddy should have been the main character, because he is a bit funnier, and his dialogue sometimes matters. It's also annoying to play a horror game where your character doesn't react to any horror and treats it like a bad old Monday. Also, the lore is terrible because of the Gregory's a robot theory, as it's stupid and nonsensical. I cannot believe Fnaf has gotten to this point. At number 128 is Trash in the Gang. Trash in the Gang were in Fnaf 6 and appear in UCN as a distraction character. However, they are way funnier than Glamrock Chica due to being literal garbage and the mic drop sound effect when they appear. They are pretty overrated, but they're cool. At number 127, the most obscure FNAF characters ever, the Mimic enemies, Empty Mascots, or Empty Mascots for short. In Secret of the Mimic, there's not only a few background characters that are kind of creepy, there's also an enemy that will chase you around a few times. I think just at the start of the game, but I could be wrong. Well, it's cool that there are bodies inside and a hiding mechanic. That's about it. I think they're cool in general as an idea. Well, I kinda wish that they were utilized more. As it is, I think they serve a good purpose. At number 126, ironically another elephant, is Orville Elephant. Personally, this animatronic is kinda annoying. He's the least dumb looking, and his mechanic in UCN is cool, where you need to use only the heat function. Audio lures hardly work, which is interesting as audio lures are the best way to conserve power. There's 2 others of the mediocre melodies I find funnier, but that's about it. Anyway, after this point, I don't like these characters much, but none of them are that bad. At number 125 is Endo01, the first Easter egg. If you look at parts in the service section with all the suits in FNAF 1, you may find Endo01. He isn't very interesting. He's a regular animatronic, but without color, or shape, or gameplay. He's kind of creepy, I guess, but yeah. Next up at number 124 is Sly the Shark. There are plenty of FNAF books I did not read, including this story, Submechanophobia. According to the wiki, he does nothing. He doesn't sound very interesting. I guess he's a tiger shark? He helps the MC from drowning at the end, but that's literally it. Also, at number 123, Hank the Hammer. He's like Sly the Shark, but a hammerhead, I guess. I guess hammerheads are more intimidating than tiger sharks? Tiger sharks are probably more aggressive, but they're robots, so I don't know. Next up at number 123 is Polo the Serpent. Like Sly and Hank, the next two do nothing. I guess I like Marco more for the purple color, but they're the exact same. They both don't do much, and they stop the main villain by drowning him at the end, so I guess that's better. Marco the Serpent. Just Polo again, but purple instead of pink, which fits the Fnaf world a lot better. I have nothing to talk about these characters. Next up at number 121 is Zeus the Sea Dragon with an actual image. Zeus the Sea Dragon is the coolest looking animatronic, being a green giant sea dragon that probably is 20 feet tall. He doesn't have a personality and mainly saves the MC and stops the villain at the end, kind of like every other character, but at least you can see him. Next up at number 120, I think, I'll have to check, is Endo 02. The Endo 02 is the secret endoskeleton for FNAF 2 instead of FNAF 1. Its only difference is that it appears twice and has cat ears. Just as less interesting than an already uninteresting but cool secret animatronic, I guess. I don't like how FNAF 2 is a lot of the same, just more. Like double the animatronics, double location size, double the danger. Not the worst, but not that good either. At number 118 is DD from UCN. This is a very hated FNAF character, but in my opinion, it makes UCN more interesting of a game. Plus, it can introduce you to 7 unique animatronics instead of one random one out of the 50. Design-wise, she's really basic, but otherwise, power-ups probably wouldn't exist, which adds some variety to the game, so I don't hate her inclusion or anything. At number 117 is... Fetch is the first story I read in the Fazbear Fright books, in which I did not like. It could be because of its length, because it felt so boring and dragged out. Mainly because of Fetch is the reason I disliked it. Other than its design being kind of cool as an official Sparky the dog, however, as a controlling AI that does whatever his owner wants, even mentions online, all he does is kill an angry neighbor's dog and bite off the main character's uncle's finger. The book literally ends with a slang term I've never heard of. Still generally cool, I guess? Design-wise? I mean, yeah, I guess. At number 116 is Nexie and the other Buddytronics. A bug character that is just a mean doll. Not really evil until maybe the end. Throughout the whole story, all it does is just be mean and attack the main character's bullies. The only actual scary thing she does is skin the main character's face off to fix her own in the ending. Generally a decent antagonist, but isn't very intimidating or malevolent for an evil doll story. If you're wondering about the other Buddytronics, I don't really care. Or Buddytronics, I don't know how you spell it exactly. At number 115 is Delilah the Mermaid. Another book character, being the second to last animatronic from some Mechanophobia. Like the others, she doesn't really do anything until the end, where she pulls the MC, or main character, underwater, and the others try to save him. Unique design, as it's the only robot mermaid, and it's ruined like the Wizards, so that's kind of interesting. I guess that kind of fits the character, just kind of interesting, I guess. At number 114 is Toy Cupcake. The Toy Cupcake does nothing. At least with the original Cupcake, it was creepy to see always in your office. In FNAF 2, the original Cupcake is still on the desk. If you look at Toy Chica's arm and pretty much only the stage camera or her 3D model, you see a lighter pink cupcake, but without a mouth. So a less interesting cupcake without the creep factor. Still a neat Easter egg, I guess. At number 113 is Felix the Shark. Not only is an underwater animatronic really funny as an idea, he's the most imposing compared to Hank or Sly due to being a robot great white shark, and he's underwater. And he's withered, which is just cooler. His lore is kind of interesting, where a father built him after his son drowned. It's also a creepy concept to be trapped inside a tank with a shark. Not a bad character, I guess. At number 112 is Nightmare Balloon Boy. Nightmare Balloon Boy is mainly a reskin of Plushtrap, who looks more like a fan-made character. He looks scary, I guess, and his UCN appearance is kind of interesting, but not that difficult if you look at him or around him while off camera. Still annoying, though. Cool, but Generally not that interesting overall. He's basically just a reskin. At number 111 is Glitch Trap. Glitch Trap is mainly an Easter egg. Lore-wise, he is essentially Sonic.exe, but not a god of the game world and completely silent. He does nothing except stalking until the very end, where he'll try to merge with you, leading to a bad ending or a terrible ending. He can suddenly murder you if you don't collect the tapes as well. I guess he's cool lore-wise. Otherwise, VR would just be some cool remakes and new levels. I hope he actually isn't William Afton, just an imitation of his mind, because he is not a good incarnation of him. A cool character, but is mainly just there. At number 110 is Electrobab. Electrobab is yet another character made solely to increase the sister location custom night roster. He looks coolish and drains power, but isn't a very interesting character. He works, but isn't anything important or really interesting. Circus Baby and Ennard are right there. Ennard work in this game, by the way. It's a custom night, so it doesn't have to make sense. Okay? At number 109 is Mixus, or M exclamation mark. In Secret of the Mimic, there's actually two Mimics. Mimic number 2 is the main one from Security Breach and an enemy in this game. Mimic number 1 was a program called Mixus, created as a digital mind to replace Edward Murray's wife, meaning it isn't a moving robot or even antagonist. It works as an expedition number for the ending, and that's about it. An interesting character that technically counts as this bunny thing right here called the Entity. Definitely not based off William Afton. At number 108 is Helpy. I counted Old Man Consequences since he's a digital character, aka robot, but now I have to count Helpy. Helpy is just a character icon for Fnaf 6 minigames, then he appeared again in Fnaf VR 2 because they love this Funtime Freddy baby knockoff. Like, a baby version of Funtime Freddy, that's kind of a knockoff of Funtime Freddy as well. However, Dawko screaming and crying about Buff Helpy is one of the funniest things I've seen about the Fnaf franchise. Cool, but nothing very interesting. At number 107 is the Ella doll, another evil doll book villain. Ella's my favorite out of all of them. This is because instead of giving the main character distress by causing violence, it gives the main character distress by causing insomnia, which is something I can relate to. Sometimes, and that's all it does. It wakes up the main character at 1:35 a.m., actually not 1:23. It's not about what the doll does, it's what it causes. The design's creepy too. I don't know why it's 1:35 a.m. and not like 3:30 a.m. because I go to bed at 1:35 a.m. on unimportant nights. Like, just tell your job that you would work an hour later than usual, and then also go home an hour later. At number 106 is the staff bots, or the minor enemies from Security Breach. I like the mechanic of an animatronic spotting behind you if you're spotted, since you probably wouldn't notice, and if touched, they jump scare stun you, as well as alerting. Otherwise, they're poorly executed spotlights, like in Super Mario 3D World, and are very basic looking. They can move around, so they're not as simple as corrupted staff bots. They're basic, but they work, I guess. At number 105 is the Blob, the amalgamation of all the animatronics. And its head. Is Funtime Freddy? Shouldn't be like the Puppet or Golden Freddy? It's an extremely big animatronic, but it doesn't do anything. It has the only challenging aspect of the secret final boss, which is sad given it's not the actual final boss. It kills the purple guy again at the end. So what was the point of bringing him back? I saw this ending accidentally before playing Security Breach, and I thought it was fan-made because of how stupid this thing looks from the mask. Creepy in general, other than, I guess, its face, but underutilized design. Maybe it's supposed to be like all the animatronic souls that didn't forgive Afton at the end of Fnaf 3? I have no idea, I guess so. At number 104 is Dismantled Montgomery Gator. For the most part, I like the characters in Security Breach and Ruin, aside from a few I've already mentioned. Like the others, his movement speed changed, but unlike Dismantled Roxy, who is arguably stronger, or Dismantled Chica, who's about the same but creepier, Montgomery Gator is just sad, and his one mechanic of his light-reflecting glasses is gone. I guess he's faster and sneakier, even if he only appears 3 times. I guess cool have no legs, but not really. Anyway, next up at 47 is the cupcake from Fnaf 1. Fnaf 1 is already a creepy game with its darkness, ambience, and the animatronics blankly staring. Cupcake adds to that vibe to make you feel creeped out, even in your office as it's always staring at you. And in the FNAF movie, Cupcake is the MVP of the animatronics. Most of the animatronics don't really do anything, but Cupcake does by biting the original security guard, a random thief, and William Afton. By the way, Matthew Lillard doesn't count for this list. He was never shown a Springtrap, just getting stabbed. At number 102 is Rockstar Bonnie. Rockstar Bonnie is probably the coolest looking out of the Rockstar animatronics, and still being unique from his counterpart design-wise. He's a nothing character in UCN, but his mechanic, which is interesting, although borderline impossible for me. At least he doesn't yell to deposit a coin every 2 seconds. At number 101 is Toy Freddy. He's kind of like Goofy if he looked imposing. His entire gameplay mechanic in FNAF 2 is the same as Withered Freddy. It kind of makes me wonder why they're toy and withered instead of only 4 regular animatronics, but each with unique mechanics. His voice is kind of silly, but still threatening. Hopefully it's the best part of FNAF 2. He also has the most annoying mechanic in UCN, except maybe Rockstar Bonnie. At number 101, because I lost count, is Phantom Foxy. One of the coolest Phantoms. Sad it's this low. However, Phantom Foxy has a somewhat unique design with a missing arm and leg, and his jump scare is scarier than any other jump scare in the game. Still really annoying, though, just like around every other Phantom. At number 100 is Yendo. Yendo is a discount version of Golden Freddy to fill up the Customite roster because apparently it has to be 10 animatronics. He sometimes appears in your office. You flick the cameras back up, which you'll do most of the time anyway, except when dealing with Funtime Freddy, I guess, Funtime Foxy, Lolbit, or Biddy Babs, but generally that's all you have to do, and it's not that often. He's kind of creepy looking, and is theory to be Fredbear's endoskeleton, which is a cool idea. That's about it, though. At number 99 is Frank the Diver. If you're wondering why an animatronic that does nothing is this high, he is the scariest design in all of FNAF, except for maybe a few Nightmare animatronics. Overall, he does nothing, but it's interesting that the main villain uses his suit to try and kill the main character. I kind of like him more than Yendo. I think I just noticed that might be Polo or Marco the Serpent in the background on the right. At number 98 is Afton/Scraptrap. Afton works exactly like every other FNAF 6 animatronic. I guess being the main antagonist is cool, but there isn't much I like about the character itself. He looks worse than any other incarnations of William Afton, having a completely different design from Springtrap, although no matter the suit, the corpse inside should look similar. How did a fire change Springtrap's bone structure or give him a voice? I don't like how he isn't a silent monster anymore. His voice actor does a convincing job, I guess. Good job, PJ Haywood. Next up at number 88 is Bonnet. Scott, we're out of characters for custom night. Don't worry, I'll just recolor Bonbon and give him a terrible game mechanic. How Bonnet entirely works is you just click on its nose when it slowly walks across the screen. She works, but is nothing but a basic recolor and a basic mechanic. Not bad, but not good. Next up is Glamrock Freddy Endoskeletons. Security Breach is a rush game with a lot of annoying aspects, since there's no map. The game isn't very difficult until around 4 AM. I gave up mainly because the game sucks, although it wouldn't be as bad if there was more challenging segments when exploring the Pizzaplex. A free-world FNAF game would be crazy, by the way. These guys are another Look or Else enemy. Joy of Creation, Bobby Playtime, Doctor Who's Death Angel, Slenderman, kind of, all do this trope. It's kind of annoying. These things are okay, but really stale. Like, you can come up with more mechanics, trust me. Anyway, at number 94 is Balloon Boy, the most overhated FNAF character. I don't really get it. He's the first animatronic that doesn't kill you in your office. Instead, he helps Withered Foxy kill you, which is an interesting mechanic. Plus, you don't even have to find him as he laughs every time he moves. Kinda like Freddy, but way less threatening. And he's one of the only animatronics to look like a human and not a random animal. I don't find him that interesting, but he really isn't a bad addition to the franchise. I don't know what people are talking about. Next up is Ruined Glamrock Freddy. In posters, he looked really cool, but in the actual game, he is just a short chase scene, and has no head, not just is messed up. He still looks cool, and it's sad to see what's become of him. And it's unique that his jump scare doesn't have him bite your head off, just stab it. I don't know why he's evil without his head, though. Robots don't have brains specifically in their head, if you don't know. Next up at number 93 is Chica. Chica is a basic character very similar to Bonnie, except she goes into the kitchen and is far creepier. Bonnie is still creepy in general, but Chica always looks like she's going to rip your head off with her beak. I like how in VR they show how dirty and smelly her suit is. It gives her a creepy vibe and shows that they are rotting victims inside of the suits, even if the direction the games have changed. A cool mechanic in UCN, kind of. Anyway, next up is the Chad himself at number 92, Phantom Freddy. The best Phantom. Sure, all he does is slowly walk through the hallway in front of you, but given that before FNAF 3, the only other visually moving animatronic was Foxy, and he wasn't in office when running, shows he's a good animatronic and is creepier than Foxy, just without movement patterns or a cool voice. He sucks in UCN though, not sorry. Anyway, next up at number 91 is Ruined Glamrock Chica. The exact same as Shattered Chica, except has an audio lure. She looks gross with her face having moldy pizza over it, and it makes the acting in her kinda gross. Does nothing except wander around in a short segment. Kinda sucks. Anyway, next up at number 90 is Toy Bonnie. This was written before the FNAF 2 voice actor news, but Toy Bonnie is voiced by MatPat. MatPat definitely has an eccentric voice, which would kinda work for Toy Bonnie, probably. I like that he hops at you for his jump scare, and he has a weird but kinda cool design. Really unscary and bad in UCN, but still works as an opposing animatronic and is more bunny than regular Bonnie. Plus, if you compare him to modern annoying characters like Ned Bear, he looks a lot better. Up next at number 89 is Toy Chica. Toy Chica is slightly better than Toy Bonnie, so that's why they're right next to each other. While she doesn't have as creepy of a design, she has a different design as on the stage she looks completely normal, but after leaving she removes her eyes and beak. It's cool that her regular mode and hunt mode look different. And was given a voice actor in FNAF UCN. And she has the most interesting news for the FNAF 2 movie as she's played by Megan Fox. I don't think she'll do a bad job, I just don't get why they are hiring a popular, therefore expensive actor for a simple role as a side antagonist. It reminds me of a Mario movie where Chris Pratt doesn't do a bad job. I just don't get why he's Mario and not any random guy who can do an Italian accent. Save money, Hollywood! Save money! Next up at 88 is Eclipse. Eclipse isn't as interesting as the regular attendant, or daycare attendant, Sun and Moon, due to combining both instead of the good side and the bad side, which is kind of more interesting. Essentially making himself a generic evil robot. Cool mechanic that he attacks you only when the mask is on, instead of the light and dark segment feeling like different sections in the original. Cool overall, but not as interesting as the originals. At number 88 is Proto Bonnie. While he is the most infuriating enemy in Secret of the Mimic, he is a cool final boss. Once again, the Mimic number 2 is one, but he's kind of just a big old chase scene. It's kind of refreshing to see a challenging enemy, given that animatronics are mainly just for chase scenes, or far slower than him. Kind of scary since you're dead almost as soon as he sees you. Proto Freddy doesn't count as he's just an empty suit, by the way. At number 87, you love him, you hate him, the har man, Freddy. Freddy is the main icon of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, and he is a really cool character in FNAF 1 as a sneaky watcher from the shadows who can kill you without appearing in your hallway. Instead, you just have to listen for him to laugh 4 times. Then every time he laughs twice after that, you have to shut the door. A unique animatronic even for FNAF 1, and is the main guy when the power runs out. He's X in UCN, as he is now a basic enemy replacing Bonnie. A Goomba is harder to stop than UCN Freddy, gonna be honest. Anyway, next up at 86 is Sun, or the daycare attendant. The coolest character in concept for Security Breach, and has a challenging segment. Probably the most except for the Glamrock Freddy endos. The idea of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type character is unique for the FNAF franchise, and the segment's cool, although is pretty much only Moon's part. Sun's basically just there. A fun character, but nothing crazy without the actual difficulty of Moon. At number 85 is Lulbit. Lulbit is another character solely made to add to the roster of FNAF 5. She has an interesting design for a recolor, being mainly pink and yellow, Mechanic-wise in Fnaf 5, it's interesting you have to type in the code LOL in the alphabet to number conversion. Although when jump scared, all she does is cause a please stand by permanently, which is kind of lazy, but more so an annoying balloon boy. It's cool how in UCN you need to type LOL or can't see, or in mobile you just tap. A unique character, but mainly boring. Next up at number 84 is the other daycare attendant version, Moon. You could say it's wrong to mention a character that is the same as Sun, but since the gameplay is far different and I want to include Eclipse separately, I have to rank Moon higher. I think Moon is more interesting than Sun because he's an actual threat, and I like his writing better as most evil characters don't talk much, such as Circus Baby, who has around 13 general whispers in the entire game. A decent creepy antagonist, but it's kind of weird that he doesn't appear much after his introduction. Next up at number 83, pun entirely intended, is Pig Patch. Pig Patch isn't the best mediocre melody, but a good one. In UCN, he's the dumb character who is easily fooled by audio lures and can be heated. He also looks the best in the mediocre melodies, and his voice acting for his Fnaf screen is kinda funny. We'll say the dumbest threat ever then plays banjo. Next up at number 82 is Rockstar Foxy. Rockstar Foxy has the most special mechanic in Fnaf UCN, which isn't a lot when there's 57 animatronics and Dee Dee. Since it's an animatronic that doesn't inherently want to kill you, instead he has a chance of killing you instead of helping you, but you always have to choose his help or not, mainly if you miss his green bird. That is one of the coolest mechanics in all of mainline Fnaf. It looks kinda cool too, although he should be a toy animatronic or something given to Toy Foxy. Next up at number 80 is Music Man! This is counting other versions of the character, although similar designs. This is Music Man from Fnaf 6 in UCN. He's a kinda nothing character. I like how creepy his face is though. His mechanic in UCN is kinda boring, but not bad. I feel like he could have been better if he turned out to be a superhero that faked his death and started a music career so he could keep his logo. Music Man! Next up at 79 is Shadow Freddy. Shadow Freddy is Golden Freddy. A bit creepier as it's not obvious he's there and doesn't appear in your office, but doesn't appear any more times, and Golden Freddy is his own character and animatronic. Shadow Freddy's just a copy kinda. Like Endo 02 but better. Next up at 78 is Bonnie. While less creepy than Chica is really creepy, as the first time you ever see the animatronics move around is him, and whenever he's inside the parts and service camera, he looks really creepy in the dark. If you don't know, Scott had nightmares of this character before even the Fnaf trailer, and I get it. A great first animatronic and introduction to the series, and in UCN is the most complex of the original four, for some reason. At number 77, unless I'm bad at counting, is Molten Freddy. While I wouldn't say Funtime Freddy is the face of the franchise, he is an entertaining character, and seeing him return as a metal pile with a broken mask and merge with two others makes him a fun character to come back for Fnaf 6. Although in UCN his mechanic sucks and he has by far the worst jump scare in the game. It looks more like a dragged up and down PNG than scary animation. His voice acting is the exact same as Funtime Freddy, even though his voice box is probably gone or broken. I guess Laura's voice actor was busy, which probably would have made it creepier. Next up at number 75 is Withered Freddy. Withered Freddy is the coolest looking character, even if only in Fnaf 2. He literally stands over the screen when in your office. Mechanic-wise, he's just a Benny animatronic, but in the hallway. He's not even different from the toys, making Toy Freddy a complete copy of him. I see why he's on the poster, though. He has a menacing-ass glare. Although isn't really withered, more so a regular animatronic with a few rips on his legs and chest. I kind of hope he's in the movie, but not that much. MatPat's enough. Next up at number 75 is Glamrock Chica. Glamrock Chica is the main enemy of Security Breach and has two segments, and a whole gimmick created because of her, and the Pizza Bot section is kind of fun. Although character-wise, Glamrock Chica yells random voice lines, doesn't shut up, and has no personality other than eat, still better than Chica for mechanics, and is at least kind of threatening. Next up at number 74 is Dismantled Glamrock Chica. Dismantled Glamrock Chica surprisingly doesn't work too differently from the original, just knows how to shut up. Her sewer segment is kinda cool and makes a reference to Doors in the final boss. A cool but really basic character. The ability to scream for dismantling her is kinda cool. I would have expected jumping or something. At number 73 is Ruin Montgomery Gator. Well, similar to his shattered version, not only does he look creepier, but he is the first animatronic you find in the Ruin DLC. He has many scripted sequences and is the introduction of the Ruined Pizzaplex, a fun character that works and is scary as well. Kinda wish he talked, though. Anyway, at number 72 is the Self-Murder Bot. I cannot believe an animatronic in a mascot horror franchise has this character. For some reason, Henry wanted to self-murder, and instead of buying a rope, knife, or pills, or just climbing onto his banister, which is cheap and doesn't take months of time, he constructs an entire endoskeleton to do it. It has the same design as Endo 02. Logistically, it makes no sense. Crazy name, although isn't that great of a character or anything. At least it's kind of scary, at least when holding that knife. Anyway, next up is Plushtrap Chaser. Plushtrap Chaser is like Plushtrap, but instead of just shuffling in the dark, he'll dash at you and can chew through doorways, so you'd be lucky to survive this thing during a power outage without getting hit by a train. Sure, it's situational if he'd be a threat, but it's very scary. At least as an idea. It's kinda crazy that the main character died at the end. He jumped past a train. I feel like he'd be fine. I don't know. Gravity works fast. He would not be in front of the train for long. Did he jump in front of the train at like the last millisecond? What happened? Anyway, at number 68 is Withered Bonnie. Withered Bonnie is a bit overrated in my opinion. Sure, it looks really cool, but is an annoying version of the toy animatronics and the vents, which completely changes how you play the game as the cameras are now more important. He probably has the scariest jump scare as you don't see it often, but it's still common to see. A really creepy character, but nothing great gameplay-wise. Still cool in general, I guess. Anyway, at number 67 is Foxy. Foxy is my favorite character from Fnaf 1. Technically. He has a simple movement pattern, but is the only animatronic where he moves on screen without causing a big static effect beforehand. And he is the only actual reason to use the cameras, as Bonnie and Chica only require lights, and Freddy also only requires hearing. And has not only a cool mechanic in UCN, he also is in the cutscenes. I also have to count Book Foxy, who gives the main character a curse to lose an arm and an eye, which ends up getting them into a car crash. They have the same name and appearance, so it counts. The first character I'd call awesome. Next up at number 66 is Withered Chica. I originally probably would have said it's worse than Withered Bonnie, but then I heard of analog horrors using her face and creepy design. I get it, although mechanic-wise, she's just Withered Bonnie without appearing in the hallway. Her arms in the form of a cross and a broken jaw is really creepy. I hope it gets a remake design or something, since it still looks kind of dumb. She's also good in UCN. The design implies that Withered Chica is crucified, which makes Fnaf a Bible story, by the way. At number 65 is Withered Foxy. Withered Foxy is awesome. He has the main mechanic of flashing the hallway every time you hear an alarm. Without him and the puppet, the entire game would have been Mask. I've never beaten Fnaf 2, and that's probably because of how much time and battery you have to spend on him. Even with flash blinking, and his jump scare is cool, and it's interesting you hardly see him in the cameras. A great character overall. Next up at number 64 is Nurse Dolly. Dolly's very similar to Glamrock Chica, although appears more often, having the one of the only mentions to the other FNAF games with you falling into a springlock suit. This leads to one of the only segments that isn't strictly a scripted chase scene. She also has a scripted chase scene with vents, and it comes back melted during a puzzle segment in an elevator, with a previous tutorial. While isn't a very iconic character, is definitely the best gameplay-wise. Next up at number 63 is Funtime Freddy. While Funtime Freddy is kinda annoying with how much he yells basic lingo, he is the main reason FNAF 5 is a game at all, as he has two different segments on him. The closest of that is Ender or Circus Baby, although that is a stretch. Note, there's only 8 gameplay segments, even counting the good ending, so 2/8 is kind of a big deal. Even without Bon Bon, the parts and service section would work if reworked a bit. I never played Sister Location Customite, but I can tell he is a very annoying character to deal with, as you have to check cameras, listen to his voice, and shut doors based on what his voice says. Next up at number 63 is Ruined DJ Music Man. I forgot this character existed until I was researching the DJ. He's like Party Freddy, where he's there for a minigame and that's it. Except it's much easier as it is in a hard mode. Cool looking, but really weak execution. He should have actually appeared in Ruin. Next up at number 61, not 62 because I'm kind of dumb with that part, is Bonbon. Bonbon is really similar to Funtime Freddy, but slightly better. Every fun segment with Funtime Freddy is usually because of Bonbon. Without him, the parts and service segment, or Funtime Freddy and the sister location Customite, wouldn't really work. I would have counted these as the same, but it felt wrong to separate the daycare attendant into two parts, but not Funtime Freddy. The only reason Funtime Freddy's good gameplay-wise. Anyway, next up at number 60 is Lonely Freddy. An evil Freddy plush, essentially. The story has very little to do with him, which sucks due to no screen time or really any actions. I guess it switches souls with the main character, but it actually appreciates his sister instead of being mad at her. So, other than the main character being thrown away for being a lost toy, it doesn't seem like Lonely Freddy is evil, more so whoever made it. An interesting character, although it doesn't appear for much. Next up at number 58 is Plush Trap. Plush Trap is a tiny spring trap for Fnaf 4, although you had minigames for after nights 1 to 4 that give you a head start of 2 hours to the next night if you win, although only once. Like, if you die, then you completely lose the head start. His minigame's difficult, but also creepy, as it's hard to tell where he is sometimes without flashing your light. A fun character that not only adds to FNAF 4, but also gives a fun but scary minigame to play. I doubt I'd like FNAF 4 as much without him. He is a bit confusing in UCN, but he hardly appears due to him being an extra character, so I guess it's fine. Next up at number 58 is Glamrock Bonnie. He's mainly a mystery. It's interesting to think of what happened to him, and without it, Security Breach would be more dull lore-wise. Bonnie Bowling could have been cool, but it's just a regular area. No bowling minigame, except in FNAF VR 2, which is so cool, and a fun change of pace from regular FNAF games. Why does Gator Golf exist in Security Breach when this is so much better as a minigame idea? Well, anyway, next up at number 57 is Freddles. Nightmare Freddy is terrifying. Too bad his whole thing is 3 baby versions of him who growl a bit. While they are extremely easy to deal with, like just use your free limitless flashlight, at least they'd go at a fast speed, so when you have to deal with like 4 different animatronics in 4 different parts of the room, it can be a little hard to deal with them. Nightmare Freddy's cool looking, and Freddles look kind of similar. I think they only exist for merchandise and an extra character. They're kind of spooky and important gameplay-wise. Next up is Montgomery Gator. Montgomery Gator is really good. He's the only one of the animatronics in Security Breach who have an actual boss fight, and he's fast and can't be stunned with the Faz gun or Faz camera. He also has his own section beforehand, and the lore of him dismantling and replacing Bonnie is interesting to figure out, and Gator Golf is kind of cool. I stick by what I said. This is the only Security Breach animatronic to have an actual boss fight. Next up at number 55 is Lefty. Lefty is the puppet, but an animatronic, so far less flexible and not as creepy eye-wise. I guess Lefty is a cool way to end Puppet's story. For some reason, it's more quiet in death minigames. The Puppet is already there. Lefty's still a cool character and needed for FNAF 6, although Scrap Puppet would have been cooler. Next up, at number 54, is Shadow Bonnie. Shadow Bonnie is similar to Shadow or Golden Freddy, but not only has a much creepier design than both of them, and has a cool gibberish name. But, unlike Shadow Freddy, would be terrifying to see in your office. I don't get why in FNAF 1 there's one secret game crashing animatronic. In FNAF 2 there's 2 of them, but in FNAF 3, 0. No wonder people dislike that game. I mean, it's decent, but completely ruined the formula. Where's the secret game crashing animatronic? Where is it? Next up at number 52 is Piranha Plush Trap. I wrote the rules so I didn't count skins, so I didn't have to cover AR characters, but unfortunately, Piranha Plush Trap has a different gameplay mechanic. I guess I'm glad not every animatronic works the same, where you spin around in your room. All the gameplay really is charging 2 batteries to shock Plush Trap if he's close or die. Five Nights at Wario's 3 has a similar mechanic in the playroom of Night 4, and I'm assuming that's extremely easy to deal with. Very cool looking though. Next up at number 52 is Biddy Babs, the best of the killer dolls in FNAF. Why do they exist though? Because babies have children, dummy. I like the segment of holding the table to stop the Biddy Babs from coming in, even if it is kinda easy. All you do is push the door closed by slowing your finger/mouse scroll. Kinda sucks that that's all they do, because they have a kinda creepy design. Anyway, at number 51 is Jackie. I get she's in the poster of Secret of the Mimic, and she looks way more creepy than Dolly or Big Top, although she kinda sucks in-game. She chases you at the start of the game, and that's it. It's probably the coolest chase scene due to the all-around chaos, but while it's still a good character, isn't insane or anything. At least the chase scene doesn't end with "to be continued" in Chapter 2, like the chase scene was the only actual thing in the paid video game. Next up, starting the top 50, is Ballora. Ballora is cool mechanic-wise, although a bit derivative from Fnaf 4. Creepy design-wise for looking uncanny. Also, it's kind of funny how in Sister Location Customite and UCN she works the exact same. Also interesting lore-wise that she is probably William Afton's wife, Soul. While it has the easiest segment in FNAF 5, it's a very fun character and is a cool gimmick overall. A great idol for blind dancers. Also a great voice actor for sounding creepy. Next up at 49 is Dismantled Roxanne Wolf. Dismantled Roxanne Wolf is kinda worse. Not by much, since Dismantled Roxanne Wolf can dash but is blind. She's the worst part of the kinda secret final boss fight, but as one of the coolest looking sections where everything's on fire and you have to use her dash to break down doors to escape. Probably my favorite part of Security Breach just because it looks so cool. I wonder why they rushed the rest of the game even though this part looked so cool. Like, they cooked. But why didn't they cook for the rest of the game, huh? Everything you need to be on fire? Huh? Anyway, at number 48 is Roxanne Wolf. Roxanne Wolf is one of my favorite characters in Security Breach. Mainly because of actually having a character unlike the other big enemies. She also knows where you are due to sniffing around and is faster than the others. Split personality / heavy ego is nothing insane, but a cool character in general. Sucks she doesn't have a boss fight and it's mandatory to kill her even though she's the animatronic you probably wouldn't want to kill since the others are way more annoying or basic. You have to dismantle Monty or Chica, not both. You have to kill Roxy every time? Next up at number 47 is Ruined Roxanne Wolf. Story-wise, Ruined Roxanne Wolf is kinda good as a good animatronic unlike the others. I mean, he doesn't have as much screen time as Glamrock Freddy, and unlike him, doesn't really do anything and stops the mimic at the end. Although she was deactivated, why isn't Cassie just a better runner from danger? Still a good character that without it, Ruin would be mid as a DLC to an already mid game. Next up at number 46 is Shadow Mangle. Shadow Mangle is a hard version of Mangle for the vet section, like Party Freddy. I like the design more, but is mainly Mangle, but without the FNAF 2 or UCN parts. The vent section is probably the best part of VR, though, so pretty cool overall. Next up is the Agony. The Agony is a giant trash monster who everyone mostly knows. While he isn't a giant in the book, he is still tall and beefy, and doesn't immediately get large, but absorbs more garbage around it. It's 15 feet tall, double the height of the tallest human in history. He is also 14,030 pounds, and is the Stitch Wraith, which is generally cool on his own. Next up is Funtime Foxy. Funtime Foxy is just a fun character, although is more scary than Funtime Freddy. Her segment in Sister Location is kinda difficult. I think she was a UCN secret character, but I don't know for sure due to the mechanic. I remember being the same as FNAF 5's Custom Night. I wish they appeared more other than in an analog horror video. I actually do remember more now. She does appear a lot in UCN, although she is extremely difficult to deal with. You have to, watch her, every once or twice a night, and, it says the time, so you gotta, check back. I think it was something like that. Next up is the better white and pink Foxy, Mangle. Mangle, gameplay-wise, is just a worse withered Foxy, although attacks in 2 different parts and has a screech of static before killing you. Lore-wise is really cool as she was pulled apart by children. It makes you wonder if she is possessed or just a malfunctioning robot. Roof climbing is crazy and appears in UCN as a basic vent animatronic. Yay. Generally an insanely cool character overall. Next up is the Mini Renas. I can't believe I have to use both the games and the books since they have the same name and design. Mini Renas are Ballora's Biddy Babs. All they do in the game is try to kill you in Night 4 in an infuriating minigame. I could probably beat FNAF 5 if it wasn't for Night 4 having 10 music boxes and Mini Renas too. However, in the story, Room for One More, or story number 5, the Mini Renas sneak into the main character's body, and he's implied to die and explode at the end. Stanley is the saddest character in the series, as unlike the rest, he has no problems. He doesn't have self-loathing, hating your uncle and friend, throwing away a cool-looking doll because it doesn't work as an alarm, breaking and entering, bullying your sister on her birthday, hating your dad, and etc. Because I don't know every story. Next up is Scrap Baby. Sure, Scrap Baby is just a withered but more garbagey version, but she is a decent sequel to her original version. She's imperative to the ending, as she's mentioned, unlike Molten Freddy. She's got a creepy design with a knife arm and roller skates. Trust me, they are not a good combo. I see why she's in the prologue and is the first enemy. Overall, a really cool character. Next up is Glamrock Freddy. Without Glamrock Freddy, Security Breach wouldn't have been a bad game. It would have been garbage. I don't know why Gregory is even in the game, given that he doesn't comment on much as the main character. Glamrock Freddy is the tutorial for every new mechanic, he's a power-up, a door opener, and a major part of trap in his final boss fight. Next up is DJ Music Man. DJ Music Man is the coolest part of Security Breach. Why do you think they spoiled him in the trailers? He's another kaiju who's more spider than garbage. His section's cool, but it's 15 minutes and is the best part of the game, so that's kind of sad. He doesn't even have to exist, he just adds content to a fetch quest. I guess it's good he does exist, although all you actually have to do in-game is leave the bathroom with timing and survive a chase scene. Still a great character, but simple execution. Next up, starting the FNAF 4 list, is Nightmare Freddy. Nightmare Freddy is the basic character in FNAF 4. No audio listening, no door needed, just flashes Freddles and he won't appear. His jump scare is kind of cool, but I wish that you were looking under the bed, so his jump scare, he would pull you into the darkness instead of flailing you around in the air. He still works though. Next up is the best phone guy in all of the FNAF franchise, Hand Unit. Hand Unit is the only real source of levity in FNAF 5, FNAF 6, Security Breach, FNAF VR, FNAF VR 2, and Secret of the Mimic. Kellen Goff is just a really good voice actor, as Hand Unit works as an ignorant but comedic relief and does a good job at representing the Fazbear Corporation. And if you think that this is overrated, I need you to remember one thing: exotic butters. Anyway, next up is Big Top. Big Top is DJ Music Man, but better in every way. He has a gameplay section before his chase scene, appears multiple times, and is probably the reason the game is $40, as without him, the game would not only have a smaller scope, but be much simpler as well. Crazy to see a far better FNAF game than Security Breach only 4 years later. Number 33 is Ralpho. Ralpho is the red bunny on the poster of the Book 5 of Fazbear Frights in a story called Bunny Call. He essentially was built as a terrifying alarm clock for a camp, but when he gets dismissed from the main character due to nightmares, Ralpho tries to break in, but gets punched in the head a bunch and starts bleeding. Finally, dawn breaks, and the camp counselor reveals Ralpho wasn't there that day. Eating robot is a really creepy concept to me, and William Afton's cool. And this is a cool symbolic representation of him, too. Next up at number 32 is the Stitch Wraith. Stitch Wraith is a cool idea for a character, being entered, but with sharp teeth and a hood covering his whole body. He does scavenge in his garbage, although later on is revealed to be an experiment of agony by scientists. It's also revealed that he has 2 souls inside it. This led to the theory of the crying child and Charlie that are one and the same robot instead of 2 separate powerful ghost animatronics. And it is technically the amalgamation after being trash compacted. So overall, a cool character. Next up is Eleanor. Eleanor is similar to Circus Baby in being a clown robot who's manipulative, although unlike Circus Baby, just steals body parts for herself, but the main character doesn't notice due to a magic necklace she has for some reason. This story more so makes me sad for the main character who turns into a pile of garbage at the end while Eleanor steals her life. Why did the main character wake up from her body parts getting taken? I don't know. A reinterpretation of Circus Baby nonetheless. At number 31 is Ennard. Similar to Mangle, but looks cooler and is similar to Eleanor in having a really human-like figure. The final plan for the FNAF 5 robots is to scoop and sneak inside your skin, so they merge into a figure that has human structure. The parts and service section is difficult as one tiny mistake could make you lose. The secret room segment is simple in concept, but not when it comes to Ennard's speed and the power quickly diminishing. He comes back in UCN and is simple, but still a bit difficult. Definitely a cool final boss for Fnaf 5. At number 30 is Sleepy Moon. For the secret ending of Secret of the Mimic, Sleepy Moon is the main antagonist in a maze-like section. He's fast, but you can tell if he's close due to his brightness. It makes the secret ending more difficult to get. He also is implied to be the first evil animatronic in the timeline, meaning Sleepy Moon is older than Fredbear, which is really interesting. Next up at number 29 is Charlotte Emily, book trilogy plus all 4 versions. The pup is the creepiest and most powerful animatronic. However, she has a book version where she's just some high schooler. Overall, a decent interpretation, though. In the first book, she stops Springtrap. By the way, the movie ending is heavily inspired by this scene, which is good, since it's the best part of the movie. In the second book, she dies by Twisted Freddy, and in the third, it's revealed that she's a robot with 4 different versions and stops Springtrap again. At the end, it's revealed that she's Charlie Emily and died by William Afton. Dun 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 dun. Cool, it's canon though. At number 28 is Nightmare Chica. Nightmare Chica is scary looking. I think the others are more important, but Chica is probably the scariest. She's like Nightmare Bonnie, but has 2 different animatronic jump scares, being herself and her cupcake, and sometimes goes in the kitchen. I don't count Nightmare Cupcake or Funtime Cupcake, as there is literally nothing to talk about other than spooky. Essentially her original version of being a copy of Bonnie, but right side and kitchen. I have heard that the first night is usually not that bad in any of the games, so there's probably nothing to worry about. Next up at number 26 is Dark Springtrap. This is a bit high, but without Springtrap in the Custom Night ending, Sister Location Custom Night would have been seen as a cool but basic extra that should have been the original. In my opinion, the "Father, I found her," I guess that was Michael Afton voice, ending is my second favorite ending in the entire franchise. Henry is an animatronic, so I don't count him. Starting off the top 25 is Nightmare Bonnie. Nightmare Bonnie is the introduction of the audio mechanic, which is probably the best mechanic of FNAF 4. I've gone to Night 3 in FNAF 4, but I cannot win because Nightmare Bonnie requires too much attention. He's scary looking, and I don't know, he's simple but deadly. By the way, I should mention, FNAF 4 should have had animatronics attack you, not just have the light flicker if they are intended to. Like, they should have cutscenes before they jump scare you, you know? Next up at number 24 is Dreadbear. Dreadbear is the main antagonist of the Curse of Dreadbear DLC of FNAF VR. There's a bunch of minigames, with the main one being to fix his brain or get killed. I like the symbolism of the crying child being put back together as a Frankenstein-like Fredbear variant, and the Curse of Dreadbear DLC is great and would suck without him. Awesome design too. Next up is Nightmare Foxy. Nightmare Foxy is an epic character, mostly design-wise. Do you know he was supposed to have a sharp-ass spike tongue? Well, now you do. He's the scariest regular animatronic, especially because he's in your face a lot more than the rest. He also screams at you in his first state, and he takes the longest to attend to. Nightmare Foxy is just fire. Speaking of fire, up next is Jacko Bonnie. An epic-looking character as well, and one of the best skins of the Halloween update, even if it's generally just an orange skin with bright holes throughout. Sure, but how can you not see him in the dark? Well, I don't know. I guess he isn't actually lit with a candle, he just looks like it. And he's also in VR. Like, literally, this skin is spilling so much aura. He is like the aura master right now. Anyway, up next is Twisted Foxy. I just found out the Twisted ones are assassins. Why are the 2 founders just love creating extremely time-consuming and expensive ways to commit a simple and concept task? Like, pay a sniper instead of constructing 4 evil robots. It's like if Maleficent turned into her dragon form to kidnap the prince, not to kill him. He also does the least as he can't leave the ground. A very cooler-looking Nightmare Foxy, I guess, and at least he isn't the main villain. Starting off the top 20 is Nightmare Mangle. Another amazing skin for Foxy. It's kind of scarier as it's much larger than Nightmare Foxy. It is mainly that the secondary endoskeleton arm looks like a human face, at least in comparison to Springtrap's corpse. It's definitely a very cool design. At number 19 is Twisted Chica. Twisted Chica doesn't even appear in the book, just mentioned once. It's strange that for the actual Twist animatronics, They picked only 3 characters, and one of them is completely original. Only reason that she is this high is just because she looks generally cool, as she doesn't look like an animatronic, more like just a monster. So that's pretty cool. Next up is Jacko Chica. Jacko Chica is a bit better than Jacko Bonnie. Not only is she in UCN, she also has a new cupcake being a pumpkin, which is a cool touch. Her mechanic in UCN is that she slowly appears in one of the doors, and you have to close it before she fully materializes. However, if it's too hot, then she'll come through both doors and at the same time. A difficult mechanic. Also, she actually has voice lines in UCN that actually give ideas of who Cassidy is. Anyway, next up is Twisted Bonnie. In short, for all the Twisteds, they look good, but all fulfill similar purposes of being more nightmare animatronics, but kind of zombies. Mainly looking like monsters, but they do hide during the day and eat like people, so I guess that counts too. He gets defeated by his original version and does nothing important in the story otherwise. The animatronic Twisted Bonnie is the equivalent of all bark, no bite. Next up is Spring Bonnie, the main aspect of the 5 child murders. So without his existence, then William probably wouldn't have done all the murders. Charlie still would have died, though. Wah, Charlie. Similar to Fredbear, he's more of a legend than a visually shown animatronic, as his only appearance is in mentioning or the Fnaf 4 minigames. He's the least interesting one, as all he is a suit, not a part of the accidental head chop or anything. Next up is Grim Foxy, who I think is number 15. Similar to Jacko Chica or Jacko Bonnie, is a pumpkin fiery version of Foxy. His main thing is to appear in the VR maze for a secret ending instead of being a reskin. He's also in a hard mode, and he looks awesome. The best part of the Halloween DLC. Next up, at number 14, is Monster Springtrap. Springtrap from the story Into the Pit is a cool character. He was so cool that he got his own game. He's scarier than any other version of Springtrap with his rows of sharp teeth and calculated eyes. While impersonating your next victim's dad instead of killing them is really funny, other than murder, he doesn't really do much but creepily stare at Oswald. Vicky's gonna be angry about this one. Probably the big poster character of the whole Fazbear Frights franchise, but I don't know for sure, I guess. At number 13 is Twisted Wolf. Twisted Wolf appears in someone's backyard next to Twisted Freddy. He is really cool looking for a mainly original animatronic. However, at the end of the book, he gets destroyed by regular Foxy. So, essentially, the Gray Nightmare version of Foxy dies by regular, normal, vanilla, booty basic Foxy. Cool design, though, I guess. Next up, at number 12, is Twisted Freddy. Twisted Freddy actually appears in someone's backyard like Twisted Wolf. He gets attacked by regular Foxy, but ends up killing the main character at the end. While it's not the first book antagonist to kill the main character, it is technically the first that has a graphic novel version. Except maybe a few of the Fazbear Frights books. The only Twisted one to achieve their goal they were designed and created for. Number 11 is Nightmare Yone. It's like the puppet with a scarier face, but only appears in Fnaf 4 as a reskinned secret final boss. VR, but with a rooftop and technically in Security Breach, but that's more of a reference. The final boss is good, and his design kind of fits the puppet's simple but horrifying look, but isn't anything too substantial. Pretty scary, though. Next up, at number 10, is Withered Golden Freddy. Withered Golden Freddy is Golden Freddy and being a yellow withered Freddy. He sometimes appears in your office or hallway, and you have to flick up your monitor. Otherwise, Golden Withered Freddy is more basic in UCN, with the worst jump scare in the entire franchise being a picture. That's a Scooby-Doo level scare. The secret where you actually see Fredbear and talk to Old Man Consequences was great, though. People have reacted to Fredbear's maybe, possibly, actual design. Golden Freddy looks like himself, so Fredbear looks like Golden Freddy. Old Man Consequences is cool and is probably Michael from the dead. I doubt it since he died to stop his father, but I don't know. Next up at number 9 is The Mimic! Essentially a new main antagonist for the franchise, given that Springtrap is quadruple dead. He's just an endoskeleton that can mimic voices. That's the secret finale of Security Breach Ruin, where he chases you. Guess what he does in Secret the Mimic? Kind of the same. He also technically controls all the other animatronics in Secret the Mimic. Secret the Mimic is a good game because of it, and sad lore, so a great character overall, I guess. At number 8 is Circus Charlie, or the book version of Circus Baby. In the third book of the Fnaf trilogy, The Fourth Closet, why 4? It's the third book. Because Henry lost his daughter to William, he creates 4 different versions of her, so she technically ages and nobody notices, somehow. I would notice if a student in my class went from an 8-year-old to a 16-year-old in a single day. And how did she never notice she can't be hurt easily and doesn't have blood? Is Henry stupid? Just go to therapy, Henry. This is like Eggman building giant machines to kill Sonic. Just buy a gun instead of building the Eggomatic Spikeball 3000. Circus Charlie's generally cool because she works as an insane helper of Springtrap like a much better Fanny, and isn't just a scary looking and cool gameplay-wise animatronic. At number 8 is the technically second ever animatronic in the series, not counting Sleeping Moon, Fredbear. Not counting Golden Freddy, Fredbear is a great mystery of not only what he looks like due to his mass importance in the lore, as well as why he malfunctioned in the first place. Did William want to kill the crying child for replacing his daughter, Michael for aiding his brother, or was it just the crying child's tears that caused the bite of 87, or 83? Maybe it's just me, but I've always assumed that the bite of 83 was why William killed 5 kids and murdered Charlie Emily. It was because of the death of his favorite son, the crying child, I'm assuming. Like, the whole thing is just built on trauma, which is a very interesting idea and definitely makes FNAF more interesting overall. Next up, at number 7, is Nightmare Fredbear, the Night 5 final boss of FNAF 4. Not only is he the scariest of the nightmares, he's completely unknown, making Night 5 a big surprise, as he is the first final boss in FNAF. To me, it's kinda easy. Instead of checking 3, sometimes 4 locations constantly, you check 2 locations, but if he laughs, you check the other 2. But I guess timing, since one mistake could be your doom. Definitely a really cool and innovative character. At number 6 is Nightmare. Nightmare is the secret final boss of FNAF 4, appearing in Night 7 and Night 8 because there had to be a hard Nightmare and a 20 night. He's a reskinned Nightmare Fredbear, but harder, and his jump scare is spooky instead of loud. Better than Nightmare Puppet and the best looking animatronic in the franchise. And the lore that he is Death Incarnate actually kinda makes sense. He is obviously the spookiest and darkest animatronic out of all of them. Next up, at number 5, starting off the top 5, is Tiger Rock. Tiger Rock is essentially Golden Freddy, but instead of getting his head chomped off, he got into a car crash, which is less interesting and isn't shown in any way, just mentioned, but is still pretty scary in general, because it's more common, I guess. His kind of boss fight in Secret of the Mimic is really cool and a great penultimate challenge. You walk into random light parts of a dark basement or die from Tiger Rock, and he'll distract you with his face a bunch of times. A spooky character that has been in the books before, but technically that was the Mimic. And the Mimic's pretty cool overall, so he's going here. He's also technically a part of the true ending, as David is Tiger Rock. And the true ending's pretty cool, so he's here. Next up, at number 4, is Circus Baby. Circus Baby is the main villain of FNAF 5 and makes the game much better. Without her there wouldn't really be a story, and an animatronic that is friendly to you throughout a majority of the game is a unique and innovative idea. I kinda wish they waited until Night 5 before the reveal that she's actually evil. She still kills you and steals your skin at the end, but technically you survived because ghosts or something. And the Birds of Service section is cool. Also, every single FNAF 5 fan song is really good, unlike all the others, which usually only have 1 or 2 really good FNAF fan songs. Starting off at the top 3, the creepiest animatronic on this list, the Puppet. The Puppet is number 1 of Dawko's UCN ranking. I don't get what he was on because the Puppet is just Golden Freddy, but with a unique design and slightly worse. Unlike Golden Freddy, doesn't have a whole game to explain their backstory, instead is just murdered in a rainy alleyway. I guess it's sad that no one came to save her except a robot, but who knows? Maybe the building didn't have windows. Still the creepiest animatronic, and while a less detailed version of Golden Freddy is probably more realistic and sad and also creepy. Next up at number 2 is Golden Freddy. The main, I guess not villain, since he's opposing the main antagonist, but I guess anti-main antagonist. Golden Freddy is an awesome character. Sure, the Puppet is the exact same, but isn't a Freddy reskin, but the Puppet can't teleport. At least usually not, and is better shown their death. I just don't get why there's 2 all-powerful, vengeful ghosts in the franchise. Creating an entire hell because you hate your dad that badly is pretty crazy. And the secret FNAF 7 ending would have been great as an ending to the franchise. Oh well. I kinda wish he was called Yellow Bear like the game files mentioned. It's a creepier name than the Golden Freddy, which sounds more like getting a champion in Clash Royale. I wrote this a very long time ago. I did not realize I had a Golden Knight reference in this. FNAF 4 is amazing, and so is Golden Freddy. Anyway, at number 1, if you can guess by the order of elimination, is... Get ready. The man behind the slaughter himself. At number 1 is Springtrap. It's probably a bit underrated to put Springtrap as the number 1 animatronic in the entire franchise. But without Springtrap, not only would FNAF 3 not exist, the lore wouldn't exist, and probably the entire FNAF games as we know exist, because, well, without Springtrap, no evil animatronics. FNAF 3 is generally a decent game brought down by the Phantoms. Technically, Springtrap is why they exist, because he is the only animatronic that can actually kill you, so a bunch of distractions are needed. He's creepy when he looks at you, and the secret that he's the killer's corpse in his suit is such a great ending to FNAF 3, and unfortunately not the end of the franchise. FNAF 6 had my favorite ending to all of the franchise, and Springtrap is a main component of that. Or I guess Willie Mafton, but yeah, that is Springtrap technically. And he's also the main character of UCN, which should have been like an epilogue to the FNAF series, but, you know, it didn't end. But anyway, this is an extremely good character, and Willy Wonka should be quaking in his little boots due to all this child murder, because he can't even do anything close. And that is the end of this enormous video, with the most writing I have ever done for a video. For the Clash Royale ranking, which was technically longer than this, I only had to make one iMovie. For this one, I had to make 2. Because it just wouldn't load and it wasn't saving. The Clash Royale card ranking had 19 pages, while this video has 22 for comparison. This video is technically not even every animatronic. This is just the ones that were actually important to mention. If I really wanted to, I could have mentioned, like, the Paper Pals, or all 50 of the Adventure animatronics, or all of the Adventure enemies, or Funtime Chica in Space 3, or Freddy in Freddy in Space 2, or Freddy in Freddy Space 1. And hey, that's only official characters, don't forget unofficial characters. And I guess if you're counting characters, not animatronics, you have to count, like, Henry Emily, and like, in The Crying Child, which is different from Fredbear, kind of. You see why it would be very complicated. Anyway, I'm going to sleep, and I'll be back with another video in some time. Goodbye, and remember, if someone kills you, you can come back and send them. Bye.